p.m. Eastern Time, we're here. So glad to have you. Even more glad or as glad to have Gretchen Skalka today. Gretchen's a veteran of this show, was here from the beginning pretty much, and is just so amazing in how she's evolved, blossomed, and now dealing with more opportunities and more really relevant people. So, with that said, chat's open. We depend on you to direct us and suggest areas that you want us to spend a little more time with. And if we can get more takeaways and people leaving here better than they came, then we've accomplished our goal. So, Gretchen, say hello to everybody and bring everybody up to date.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I missed last week. So sorry, but I had another appointment, which is always good when the business grows. So we like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just been a lot of the same stuff. A lot of working, making sure that I'm supporting my clients, but also that I'm learning new things I can bring to everybody, and that I'm wearing the two hats, right? Like we talked about. You got your business hat, which you have to have because you're a business, and then you have your coach hat, whatever it is, however it is that you're supporting the people that are in your network and in your group. And so I've been doing a lot of that, which is good. I always love it. Hi, Omar. And yeah, just sort of doing that and keeping on top of things. So watching what's going on everywhere and supporting other people, which is incredibly important. I can't stress that enough. So yeah, it's been a great time. Yeah.
So, just curious, how much time do you spend on LinkedIn in a
I
typical
actually
week?
I have an app on my phone that tracks what I do. And I actually try to keep my LinkedIn, believe it or not, to under 5 hours a week.
Okay, and how do you accomplish that?
So the way that I accomplish it is I use LinkedIn scheduling feature to schedule certain posts. Now, some posts, like the one that I wrote yesterday, was not scheduled. It was not planned, but I had seen a lot of comments about this one topic, and I really felt like I wanted to address it. So, but most of the time, I will have something that I can schedule. And the reason that I do that is because I only do it a week in advance, but I try to batch produce. So on Sundays or Saturdays, I try to write, and I try to write things that I know are going to be important for people or helpful for people, or things that I know that they're looking for. And so I get those ready and I get those done. And then because I see clients most days, Thursdays are my planning days, but it used to be Tuesday, but Tuesday got really busy. So I have clients and I have research and I do a lot of other things during the week. So I have to limit that. And it's difficult because I have so many friends and I love LinkedIn. And so what I do is during the day, I have a certain amount of time that I will go on and check on things and check on people. And then in the evenings, when I'm done with my work for the day and my last client has been supported, then I also will come back on LinkedIn and check people out. Sometimes I have more time to do that than other weeks. It just really depends on where I am in terms of what I'm doing. But yeah, I do try to limit it to 5 hours or less. And part of the reason too is because last year when I first opened the business, I love LinkedIn, and so I was spending most of my time on LinkedIn, which is great. But it's really difficult to support your clients and grow your business so that you can continue to support clients if you're not doing active business building. And so I have refined the way that I do that with LinkedIn, but I have to limit it. And so I also do time audits, and there's a coach that I know, her name is Kim Romaine, and that's actually her thing is she showed me how to do it. And it's a really important thing, but I watch how I'm spending my time. And so I want to be sure that, I'm making the most of it. And so I go back and I'm always looking at that, those rabbit hole kind of time things where, oh, I'm just going to check this one post, or I'm just going to answer that one email. And then it takes you down a pathway. And before you know it, 2 or 3 hours have gone by. And sometimes that's okay. But when it's a habitual thing, which it was for me for a while, you have to rein that in. You have to develop new habits from that. So that was sort of an activity that wasn't really helping me, and it wasn't really helping the people that I was engaging with either. So I just had to think about how I could better use that time for other people and myself. And that it's been good so far, but I do try to limit it. And every week my phone gives me, there's an app on Samsung that I didn't even put on here. It just does it. It tells me exactly how much time I'm spending where. And it's, some days I'm like, yay. And some days no. And so I've been doing a growth program with the folks at Positive Intelligence. And so I have a lot of time logged on their app, but that's also where lessons, homework, outreach and other things are happening with the community doing that program. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, let's recognize some of these great people who took some time today to be with us. Omar's here. Omar's turning out to be a regular, was a co-host the other week. So, everybody brings something and everybody could take away something and everybody's better for it, right? Because you come together and then you leave with more than you started and you shared and you helped. And I think that's an important element. We've got the LinkedIn user who also tells you he's without 400 days of coffee or caffeine.
That's Carrie.
But, anytime you could know and share something, it reinforces doing something, right? Yeah. So, there's some pride to accomplishment. Susanna's here. Thanks so much. Susanna's kind of jumped on this show and been supporting it in the last week or so. So that's great. It's always nice to see new faces because when I'm learning about LinkedIn, everybody's going or coming from somewhere, right? And if you catch them at the right time and space, there's something that you can work together on, but also you build a foundation for other things going forward. So it's a lot easier looking back than looking ahead because some things just take a year or two. I'm reconnecting with people I was really connected with a couple of years ago. And now for some, because of LinkedIn Live and other things, it's more appropriate and more aligned to do business or just to have strategic relationships. Okay, tomorrow Tuesdays. We always got some levity here.
I know that's Carrie. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning to you. Christine says, I like that plan about posting in advance. So many things don't go according to plan, though I was up till midnight writing a paper. Then my daughter got a massive ear infection. Now I have a couple of deadlines of work that are a real stretch. Well, I think it's all about juggling now. So, everybody's got more than they can probably handle or more than they want to have to, look forward to handling. And it's all about being system dependent, and once you can develop a system or a discipline, and everything should be individualized and personalized to your quality of life, to your ability to support things. Sometimes you get out of balance. Like Gretchen says, it's easy to fall into something and keep getting attracted to it, but it's usually at the cost of something that should be a higher priority or whatever. So, this is a puzzle. LinkedIn is a puzzle, and every day maybe you pick up a new piece to put into it. But ultimately, it's your puzzle, and only you know how much time and effort you can or want to put in. And there's another level of where you're at. At the starting level and beginning level, you have to learn more, you have to do more because you got to gain momentum and you got to gain proficiency.
Yeah.
Once you got it dialed in, then it's about reinforcing it and working it. So you're not, I do everything. Now you're a specialist. Yeah. What do you have to say about that, Gretchen?
One of the things that I wanted to mention too, to sort of piggyback on what Christine was saying, is when I'm, I got out of using the scheduling feature when it first came out, but I really like it because what it lets me do is it lets me really give a lot of thought into what I really want to share and add the research that I do for everything that I share, and then go from there instead of going off the hip and just kind of writing what came to me. The other thing it allows me to do is be more present in my network and my community, because I'm not taking my live time where I'm on the platform to do that, to post. I can take the time, those 5 hours I'm talking about, because that's during the week. My weekends are where I batch produce and I write. and research. So I'm taking my time during the week to do things like your live, right?
Mhm.
Or the flight attendant show, which is, my Tuesday show. Or if I'm chatting with somebody else or having a conversation, or if I'm doing a coffee chat or any of those kind of things, like I can take the time to really be in my community, which is where I want to be. So it's really important for me to do that. And it's also just a way to prioritize my time. I got invited. It was really nice. Carla Goldberg invited me to talk with her transitioning teacher group. And we were talking about, how to prioritize your time, right? So what is immediate and important? What's important, but it may not be immediate, right? And then we get into, is it really important? Which is a very subjective thing. But the immediacy of something will really help you understand where you want to spend your time. And if you're spending your time on things that you feel are important, but really aren't immediate, then you're missing something that is immediate, because there's always something there to go, to pay attention to. And I was mentioning to somebody last week that, when you think about it, and we think about how, we want to be present, we want to be in the moment. But often what happens is we're trying to be in the moment, but we're thinking about that to-do list. I should be doing this. I need to do that. Oh, as soon as I'm done being in the moment, I'm going to go do this. Well, guess what? Every thought that is there means you're not in the moment. So it's wasted time, because you can't be in the moment to address what's right in front of you. And you're thinking about all these other things, either past or future, but you can't address them either. It's wasted time. So that's another reason why prioritizing and having that strategy and that structure is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe after the show you could put the link to the app, in comments, and that way, or so other people can take advantage of it if they're so inclined.
Do you mean the scheduling feature?
Yeah.
So actually, I don't know if it's still in beta, so I don't know who has it and who doesn't. But if you go to make a post, you're going to see a little clock in the bottom of the post window. And if you click that clock, it will let you schedule it by day and time. And so you can schedule, I don't know how far in the future. I only do 2 to 3 days. But if you do that, you can do it right there, and you can go and see all of your scheduled posts. So I generally try to post 3 times a week, and I'll try to schedule each of those so that for the week I can concentrate on people, not, and their posts and what they're doing, and instead of what I'm writing, because I've already done it. So now I can really put my time where I feel like it has the most value for people, which really sometimes is what you say, but a lot of times it's what you do, and showing up for people is a good thing. So that's where I try to do it. But everybody, if you have the little clock, if you see one in the bottom right portion next to, I think, the post button in your post, when you go to create a post, then you have the scheduling feature and you can use it.
Yeah, that's another opportunity to gain more convenience, because if you're doing real time, you've got to be there in real time.
Yep.
Right. In my situation, I do so much. Right now I'm doing 3 posts a day, a newsletter a day, a LinkedIn Live day every day, a poll every day, and tag
Wow.
your people every day. But you know what's happened? In just 3 weeks, my impressions went up 250%. And
I'm sure.
yeah. So what's happening is you can accelerate the momentum, right, by consistency, and then you can accelerate the relevancy by the people and the subjects you talk about. And this program continues to evolve in a more organic way, because when I started, it was all about LinkedIn, how to do better. I thought best practices, and then didn't take long before the audience redirected it to mindset, attitude, mental health.
Yep.
Now that's kind of a foundation block. Now it's like having tips that people can get during a show like this. So it's not an hour of for tragedy to triumph. If everybody's here and everybody's where they want to be, how do you go to work with this? How do you find ways to do more with less time, do better with the time you have? And you continue to, just like we're having the audience guide the discussion, the results and your ambition should guide your composition.
Yeah.
right? Because we've talked about before, you can go one-on-one with anybody, but that's a transaction that if you lose that one person, you have no more relationship with that time. If you go to groups and you can get 10 or 12 or whatever, now you've got a little bit more sustainability, but you're still one with 10. When you can transfer it to LinkedIn Live, now you're one of 400 for an hour. And who knows how many people you'll never know who see it later.
Yeah, the replay. Yeah, very important. Yep.
Is huge because, there's a saying, get known before you're needed. Build your credibility and trust before you have to be talked to about it. And this is really, if you look at Gretchen, you look at me, that's who we are. If you were to meet us in person, you'd see the same person doing the same thing.
Yeah.
There is no opaqueness. There is no nothing. Go ahead, Gretchen.
There'd just be one difference. If you met me in person, I have legs. You don't see those here. But I actually have legs and feet, which you don't get to see here, but they exist. So.
And that's the beauty of it, is when people are going through this and driving themselves to success. Because the beauty of this, it's all about what you do, how you do it, and with who you do it with. Right? If you pick the right people who are doing the right things that you can learn from and also share with, if you can have company, because having 2 people on a show, having 3 people on a show, and at times we had open mic where we had more than that, you bring diversity, you bring contrast, you bring complement. And this is still a visual art, right? So if you can entertain the eyes as well as educate the minds and the hearts, now you've got something that says, you're deeper than most, because a lot of shows are either self-promotional, where I'm here to sell you stuff and just talk at you, and hopefully spaghetti against the wall keeps working for me, right? That's one approach. And it's usually the majority, because people didn't take the time to figure it out, didn't take the time to build the relationships, don't understand that they're really going up on a ladder that's against the wrong wall versus this. What do you have to say about that, Gretchen?
No, I agree. I think that, there's the importance of intentionality, I don't think can be understated, and when you are doing that, we use the term spray and pray for job seekers, with, applying to every job and putting resumes out everywhere. But the same is true for other people who just post stuff and with no plan, no intentionality, or they're amassing these huge networks. Why? What's the reason for that? Because if you're not engaging with your network and they're not engaging with you, okay, that's cool, I guess. But what does it do? There's got to be some return for that. There's got to be some meaning for that. It's for me, I love knowing that there's something about the people in my network that just makes me happy. I know that if I've got a question about something, I know exactly who in my network I can go to ask. I do. For example, if I have a question about, cold calling, which I don't do anymore. I tried it when I first opened my business and realized it's not for me. But, the person that I reached out to was Jenny Holder, because she does it all day, every day in her job. And she is so awesome that she gave me like a couple hours of her time to kind of walk me through it. If I have a question about, financial stuff, there are a few people, Paul is one of them. I see him in the audience here today, that I'm going to go and I'm going to ask about it. Or, if somebody that I know has a question about it, I'm going to send them his way. So that's what I love about my network. And what I think most people love about theirs is that we know the people in them and we know who to go for what. We also know, where to send other people to, which I think is also the collective, the power of collective networking, if you will. So I think it's really important, but that intentionality, I just don't think the importance can be overstated. Yeah.
Yeah. And, the thing about it is, I always use plan, do, review, and too many people are doing and not planning and not reviewing, right? So it's kind of set and forget and let it ride. And, there's so few people doing anything on LinkedIn, and there's so many people on LinkedIn. They always have to put that in perspective. 900 million people. They say about 18% of them engage in LinkedIn, but only 2 or 3% create content on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So you've got a huge group of people. 55 years and older is only 2.2% of the LinkedIn population. And 82% is between 18 and 34. And it doesn't mean there's not a lot of wise, retired individuals who are in a position to share their time and their knowledge.
Yeah.
They don't know how to get on. And the other 82% who do nothing but become a billboard, hoping for someone to see them and reach out to them, right?
Right.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
Don't know how to approach it. So it's really onboarding that's so important. And people who are like you are more strategic relationships, not customers. So, you have to distinguish who can be whatever they can be, and how does that fit where you're going.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you can say, hey, great to know you. I know what you're doing. I applaud you. And if something comes up, I'll remember you. And that's the basis.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to say?
I was going to, so Paul had a question. I see it. He says, Don and Gretchen, since you both have larger networks, that's nice. I didn't consider mine to be large, but the only gripe I have is here it's hard to keep up with all your connections. What are some strategies you've used to do that? And so for me, so I certainly don't have what I would consider like in Don territory for a network, but what I like to do is some of that live time that I have, I purposely, every week, I spend a little bit of time reaching out to people who have connected with me, the new ones, new followers, new connections, all of that. And just say, hey, I'm really excited to get to know more about you and what you're about. And then I take a little bit of time every day, every month, all year long. And I just start looking at what people are writing, what videos they're posting, what they're sharing. And I get involved with it. And I try to stay aware. It's hard. I mean, we only have a certain amount of time in the day, and, I have a business to run and things like that. And I have clients that are my absolute priority, but, I want to be sure that, I stay up to date on what people are doing, and I think that's really important. So that's one of the things that I do is I go through each of those and I make time to sort of reach out to people. I also do like DM follow-ups, if I haven't reached out to somebody in a while and I just want to see how they're doing, or every now and then, like most people, right? You get up and somebody's name just pops in your head. I don't let those go by. When somebody's name pops into my head, and again, you can say it's woo-woo or whatever, but Gretchen Skalka says, thank you, universe. I need to talk to that person today. At least let them know I'm thinking about them. And I absolutely do that every time somebody's name pops into my head. So there are little things that I do. Some are intentional. Some are like the time, like, oh, somebody's name popped in your head, and I'll do that. And I think that's really important. So that's just how I do it. So, yeah.
Well, and everything I do continues to change with where I'm at, where I see other people going. I look at people that I respect, and I look at the commenters on their posts. Right? And I match them up with who do I already know and who do I want to know, because if you admire somebody, they probably attracted a pretty quality group over time. The other thing I do, my first priority is look at who looked at my profile, right? Because that's someone who knocked on your door and left a note saying, I took time out to visit your profile. And the only reason they would visit your profile is someone told them about you, or they learned something about you that they want to check you out. And what makes them important is they're fresh and they took the first action. Right? And all you got to do is thank them. See, too many people want to get to step 3. They haven't even gotten to step 1. And it's so nice just because people don't expect it. Thank you for taking the time to visit my profile. I'd be happy to get to know you depending on what it is. And if it's somebody really cool, you say, let's have a Zoom because we have so much in common. Gretchen?
You were saying, people want to get to step 3, and you reminded me, I got a DM this morning. So I got a DM about 2 days ago from somebody who was like, oh, it's so great to connect with you. And then immediately launched into a 4-paragraph pitch. And I didn't respond to it. And so this morning I got another one. So can I take it that you're not interested in connecting? And my response was, I'm always interested in connecting, like really connecting. But I like to connect with people and learn what they're about. And I hope that people do that with me before assuming they know what I'm about without actually learning what I'm about or taking time to see what I'm about before you're going to pitch me on a product you don't know if I need or want. So, yeah, that's not the kind of connection I'm interested in. And I have no problem saying that.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. And actually, I'm doing more blocking than ever before.
I've
And
never blocked anybody. I know people do that. I don't think I have. If I have, it's been a while because I don't remember doing it, but I don't think I've ever blocked anybody. I just don't respond to people who do that. Now, every now and then, a couple of weeks ago, I think I did respond to somebody. And of course, this morning I responded, but I don't block them. I just sort of let them know, like, that's not where I'm about. If they persist, then I just ignore them and I stop responding. But yeah, I don't, yeah. I think I've been fortunate. I've not had anybody be like really bad.
yeah, but here's how I look at it. If anybody's not being a quality citizen,
Mm-hmm.
right, to me, they're probably not going to be a quality citizen to anybody around me, right?
Yeah, right.
If someone's just bringing ill will and spammy, salesy stuff, uh, you know, it's a way of filtering, for other people. It's
Yeah.
easy to ignore stuff, and at a certain point, if you're really serious and you're committed, and we talked how important time is, not only
Yeah.
will someone take some of your time, but they'll take some of your mind along with it. And all of a sudden, you don't go back to what you're doing, thinking what you were thinking before you were distracted or interrupted.
Yeah.
And this is, this for a lot of people is their lifeline if they can get to shore,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is, a lot of people have been disengaged from what they're used to, how they used to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're in a different position in a new land with a new culture and a new language. And that's what's so important about these shows is someone could learn fresh from people who are doing it in a quality way
Yeah.
versus coming in stumbling and fumbling and to your point thinking quantity is the thing. It's not like a lottery ticket where if you had 25,000 you're in much better shape than if you had 10.
Yeah.
But you also have responsibility when you take people on. And my criteria for connecting with somebody is would I be willing to have a call right after?
I
Go
will
ahead.
say this. I just saw Paul's comment. So, and I want to say something about it because he says, this is Paul. What I don't understand is how people talk bad about pitch slappers when I think at some point we've all pitch slapped. We don't know what we don't know. And he's absolutely right. And I will say this, when I first started the business, I told myself, whatever the experts tell me to do, because I, didn't think of myself as a business person at the time, I'm going to do it. So cold outreach was one of those things. I was told, I had a business coach. I was told you've got to do it. Okay, I've got to do it. And I was very careful about how I worded the things I worded and how I did my outreach. And it just felt wrong. It felt like wearing someone else's skin. I didn't like it. And the results weren't good. So I made a video when I was trying to get over my video part about being a pitch slapper. And I really didn't like to, I didn't want to do it and I wasn't going to do it anymore. And I made a commitment to myself that if it took me longer to grow my business the way that is comfortable for me, because I'm a very person, I want to talk to people. I want to get to know them. Then so be it. Then that's the way that it is. And if it takes me a long time to be able to do that and I have to do other things while I'm growing my business, I'll do that too. So I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to talk bad about the person. It's the activity of pitch slapping. For me personally, not the people, because they're going by something they were told, just like I was. They're going by a standard practice, what is maybe assumed to be a best practice, perhaps in their industry. And I think we've all done that. So we don't know what we don't know exactly. But not only that, it may be a best practice for other people, but not for you. So what I was taught might have been a great best practice for other people, but it did not work for me. It felt not natural for me to do it. It's just not the way that I talk to people. So I decided I'm not going to do it. But now I will say this for other people who do what the gentleman, a couple days ago and then again did today, that to me is not a connection. You're not making a connection if you send me a connection request and I say, yeah, and then the next thing I get is a 4-paragraph, pitch. You don't know me. And even if you stalk my profile for a while, you still don't know me. And I put out very vulnerable personal content. What I wrote about yesterday was, you can people. Oops, sorry. And what I wrote yesterday was basically prefaced by I see a lot of comments from people talking about unemployment is actually not high, but there are a lot of people looking right now, right? And so there's a lot of this sort of posting, commenting about how the job is going to save me. It's going to save my situation. It's going to be everything. And I wanted to say, guess what? You can be homeless in the worst financial straits and up to here with anxiety and have a thriving corporate career. That was me in 2018 when the house blew up. We were homeless overnight. And at that, and you got to pay the mortgage on a house you can't live in. You got to pay rent. You got to move, right? No furniture, no nothing. Got to get a furnished place. I live in a very, touristy area. We were coming into the height of season where it's very difficult to find a place to live. So we moved a lot. First class security every single time. Plus, in that situation, got to hire a lawyer. $10,000 just to sit down the first time and have the conversation with him. And you got to keep refilling the well, keep refilling the tank. So I was going through a lot at that time. I was a corporate marketing director. I was doing great in my career, but that still happened. So the point of that was, don't look to something else outside of you to be your salvation. You are your salvation. You can be, you will be, you are. You just have to know it, drill into it, and feed the power that you have within yourself. And so that was a kind of vulnerable thing that I shared yesterday. But if you, unless you followed me for a couple of years, and I've really only been actively posting on LinkedIn for the last year, really and a half, then you don't know me. So if you send me a 4-paragraph pitch about, how you're going to save my business, do you know the financial health of my business? Why do you think it needs saving? I'm sad now thinking that, have I telegraphed some need? I don't have one, but that's cool. Or you tell me you want to fill my calendar with appointments. When am I going to see my clients? How am I going to support them? When am I going to do the research that helps me be a better, professional and coach and everything? Like, why would I want that? Do you know that I want that? No. You're making an assumption based on some template somebody gave you. Be a better business person. Be a better salesperson. Know who you're connecting with and actually really connect with them. Don't connect and then just try to pitch me. Now, other people might be okay with that. I am not, because I've tried it. I did it. I said I would try it and I did. And it was not work. It did not work for me. It just felt wrong. And so I hold other people to that standard because my business is me. I am a one-person business model. It is personal. I love my clients. I love my work. I love them. I am invested in their success. So if you're going to tell me you've got the answer, but it's going to take me away from what is fundamentally feeding me, no, thank you. No.
Well, I think what everybody at times wants to do is make everybody whatever they need from that person, right? And when people telegraph to say, this is superficial, this has nothing to do with either one of us, it's just a numbers game, is what they're playing, right?
Yeah.
If they send out 1,000 of those messages, maybe 2 or 3 say yes, and maybe they convert 1 or 2 a week. Well, to them, that's their way of hunting and fishing and supporting themselves. But if you're not that person and you don't want to be with that person, they've already told you up front, here's what you can expect in the future, because no one's going to be any better the second time you talk to them than the first, right?
Yeah.
If the best they can do is what they did at the beginning, I don't know if they'll do any better later on. And there's a lot of people who are not sophisticated. LinkedIn does not give you a map when you come into it, like Disney World, that you can say, okay, you're starting here. Here's what you need, where you need to go to learn this, and here's how you can do this. And here's, even when you get in trouble, you don't know until you got a notice or something to say, you just did more than you sent too many invitations or whatever. No one knows what those numbers are half the time. So I think we need to be considerate of those who are learning, who don't know
Mhm.
it better, but their intentions are good. They're just new, versus the ones who are veteran scammers, spammers, salesy people,
Yeah.
and they're pretty obvious. And that's how you get to success, by making good choices along the way.
Yeah.
If you only got so many seats on the bus, you want to put the people who deserve the ride and who want to enjoy the ride in some harmony together. So
Yeah.
it's like ice cubes. You're always building like 12 in this section. It could be a group, it could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think it allows you to be everything you ever wanted to be, if you're willing to step up and do the work and do it the right way with the right people. And,
Yeah.
and and that spreads. Those are the examples people should be sharing. Hey, I just met this person. It really took a lot of time to get to know me. I really loved their attitude and their perspective. And these are the and this is how I identify these people. It's
Hmm.
easy to identify the jerks because they're jerks from the get-go. And even Paul, and that's what's so cool about these, is everybody supporting each other, but it's sincere, like, Paul supports Gretchen, Gretchen supports Paul. And as people respect Gretchen and Paul, the association brings the other person value. The third party validation that says, hey, Paul really, is inspired by Gretchen. Well, if Paul is inspired, maybe I would be,
Paul
right?
is inspiring, though. I mean, he is. His story is also really
But but,
inspiring.
but someone could say, "Hey, I could be in that group with those inspiring people, and then I would be more inspiring." So
Yeah.
it's really reaching for something that's visible, attainable. And
Yeah.
I know Paul and I know Gretchen; they're always open to help. If anybody approaches anybody in the right way, with a little respect and a little bit of knowledge of the person, it's
Yeah.
always great when someone says, "I'm connecting with you because I saw your post." And these two lines that I remembered about it were so important to me. And you say, well, they really did read it. They did reach out to me and show some appreciation. You almost have a reciprocal obligation to say, well, thank you for whatever that kind thought is.
We're wired to do that. In psychology, it's the law of reciprocity. We are wired to do that. We're actually wired to give back to people who give to us, because it's that human connection. If somebody, I mean, when I was younger, I think we used to call it doing a solid. But when somebody did something really good or nice or wonderful for you, or just, were kind to you, whatever, you want to reciprocate that. That is human nature. And that's a good thing. That's that ripple effect. That's how that stuff happens. So I think that those things are really important for people to do. He is inspiring, Susanna, and so are you. I know your story too. So that's the thing, is there are so many great people in your audience, right, and out there in general. And I think that's the thing, is when you get to know people, and even if it's just a little bit, it's a window into their world. That's another thing too about LinkedIn that I think is really important. And I'm sure it happens on other platforms, but I'm not as familiar with them. But it's like a window into somebody's world when they share something with you, whether it's an insight into something you didn't know, or it's an insight into them, which gives you insight into something you didn't know. Like, those are gifts. Those are things that people don't have to do that. And, there are different ways that you can go about your day and engage and, connect with people. But when you're sharing, what you know and adding value for somebody else, or you're, sharing, from your heart because it's going to add value to somebody else, that's a gift, and it's easy for, I mean, we all know the folks who like to get on, and I call them the content curmudgeons. Like, everything this person's, or this is wrong. If you're doing this, it's terrible. And if you're doing this, it's bad. And you're never going to get anywhere. And it's like, okay, how is that something I want to engage with? Instead of, maybe you've tried this, and if that didn't work for you, maybe try this or something like that. Like, the difference between those two creators. And you could probably think in your head of a name on one side and a name on the other of people that you've seen doing that. And there's a certain school of thought that used to be, if I'm the most critical person out there and I'm going to point out everything that's wrong, clearly people know I know what's up and I've got the inside track on something. No, what that makes people think is you're a jerk and I don't want to engage with you. Now I'm going to go to the other person who's like, I know this is challenging. This is what a lot of people do. But have you tried this? Nasheen Chen is really great about doing that when it comes to video, right? Saying, if you've tried this, maybe you should try that. Have you thought about camera angle? This is what that looks like. Red Strafrum is the same way. There are a lot of people out there who, Chris Bogue, he has the funniest videos, but they're very informative and they're educational. Like, those are the kind of things we want to engage with. Those are, everybody knows something, but it's the delivery. And I've said this before to people, and it's so true. How we say and do anything is absolutely what determines if the message we have gets heard or not. So you could have the best message, but if your delivery stinks, nobody's going to care enough to either read it or watch it or listen to it more than a second, because it's got that tone to it that it comes with. I don't want that.
Well, that's why there's, everybody hears your music, not your words.
Yep.
Right? So if you're enthusiastic, excited, positive, that is contagious as much as someone bringing someone down with their droopy, sad story or their look. I mean, this is real showtime. This is when you bring the best of you to the best of everyone else. Why dress down for us a great opportunity to show the best you have and the real best you have? It's not like, hey, let's all get phony today. It's all like, let's get real today. And, everybody is in need of something every day, whatever that need is, wherever it comes from. And most of it is people need support. People need that, hey, there's someone backing me up if I fall. And like Gretchen says, there's a lot of people I know who are great resources that I never had before. And, people look at their bank account, like, Gretchen's experience, and understand money is not the thing that's going to save you or make you. It's going to be the friends, families who are there when you need them most.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It's the exact thing I was trying to say yesterday in what I published, because, again, a lot of people will look to and, really like covet what someone else has in the way of a job, of a salary, of a title. Like, that's the thing. And when I get that, that's going to solve my problems. And again, I just wanted people to know, like, real talk, like it was real talk. You can have the big job, the big title, the big salary. I had it. And you can still be homeless and financially strapped and worried about everything every day, all day, every day, because that happened to me. Like, literally in an instant, I was homeless through no fault of my own. And, when that happens, you'd be all your finances are wrapped up in things you can't even control. So that's not bad decision making. That's life. That's why it's important not to look out there for what's going to save you, because it's always in here. And that sounds very cliche and very, whatever. It's true. The thing that will save you is in here, but it's also in here, right? And what's going to help you is that support system that you have all around you. Those people, yes, your network, your immediate network, your family, your friends, your colleagues, yes, the people that online, LinkedIn, absolutely. I mean, they help get me through all of that. And it's not lost on me. So, that's just a cautionary tale for people is, some things can look really good. On paper, I looked great in 2018, late 2018, 2019. I look great. Corporate marketing director. Ooh, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I was moving like all the time because, I didn't know how long I could sign a lease for, because I didn't know when the lawsuit was going to end. It just boom, 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 boom. Real life is very much not like it was. Yes, Christine, absolutely. Happiness is an inside job. And I'll say this too. Anybody who's looking for that thing here, right out there for their happiness, I'll be happy when. If you can't be happy now, even when you're in the middle of like an emotional tornado and everything feels like it's going wrong, you won't be happy there, because it is here. Absolutely. 100%, Christine. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I think that's important is people here get to validate other people, confirm what other people are doing. So it's not all, hey, I see a missing piece here, or you need to fix something. I mean, we should be as much looking for the good as noticing the bad and sharing all of it, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody's all bad, nobody's all good. And everybody, if they're growing, is going to be giving up where they came from to get to where they want to be and who they want to be with. And another thing I learned in life is a lot of people get you to where you are, but they're not going to take you to where you want to go sometimes. So it's like a booster rocket. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they get you where you can now take off on your own.
Yeah.
And you want now, what's one of the keys to doing this and being a soulpreneur or an entrepreneur is to be independent of everything else, right? That you don't have to worry about getting fired. No one can fire you but you. Now you can go out of business and lose everything for being
Yeah.
too. So, you know, you haven't arrived. You just separated one fear that a lot of people have. I mean, they say the majority of people on Sunday night, their biggest fear is that they'll lose the job they hate and the people they hate to work with, you know, because their
Yeah.
security is based around that paycheck now.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of Jim Carrey did a commencement speech years ago. And it's one of the best ones that I've ever heard because he was talking about his dad, how his dad was the funniest guy he'd ever known. And he was a musician, he did all this stuff, but he, had a family and kids. And so he took a straight job. He sold insurance, I think. And so he did this straight job, which was not what he loved, but it was the security, right, that he thought his family needed. And at one point, his dad, sorry,
Sorry,
is that you? Oh, okay. But at one point, his dad lost that safe job, that, that secure job. He lost it. And they were homeless for a while. And he said, it taught him a great lesson that you can do the thing you don't love and for security and other reasons and lose it anyway. So you might, and I'm paraphrasing, he said it a lot better than I did. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. Because if if the thing you don't love can go away, do what you love. And so when I started Career Insights last March, when I left my corporate job, it was my birthday present to myself in October of 2021. I did not know what I was going to do, but I knew that was done, that I had gotten to the point, I'd reached the sort of zenith of what I thought I could achieve there. And it was a hard decision. I loved my team. I loved everything I did, but my gut was telling me that it was time to do something else, but I didn't know what that other thing was. And it took me a few months to figure that out with the help of actually a longtime freelance client. But when I started, Career Insights, I didn't know how to do a business. I mean, I was just like, okay, let's see if we can do it. And it is very hard, and I've been asked several times, well, would you trade it, to go back, the big title, the sal, all that kind of stuff. And no, there's a lot of unknowns and danger and things I have no idea what's going to happen. The marketplace for insurance is, it's daunting because you got to do it all yourself and you miss the HR benefits department who kind of did all that for you. But there's a certain, it's very educational and it's very uplifting to be able to know that you can do that and that you can help other people with their stuff too. So I guess the point of that is, yes, there are certain things that will seem like they're going to be the answer, but the answer is always going to be in you. Even if you don't know where it is yet or how to get to it, it is always, always in you. Always.
Yeah, and that's great advice because once you know it's in you, you stop looking outside of you and you start focusing more. And the other thing is you got to start where you are and you have to love who you are, right, in the process.
Yeah.
And you got to
Yeah.
be your own best friend and as opposed to being a judge and jury for yourself. And the other thing is there are people who will help you. The hope is
Yeah.
already in place. You just have to have an idea of what it takes to get their attention and to deserve their attention, because everybody is especially a stranger. Okay, I see what they want. What do they have to offer me? Right? And if they're not going where I'm going or they're not doing things the way I like to do things, then it's probably not a good match. But if someone admires you, respects you, supports you, the best way to get people's attention is not to reach out to them initially, but to comment on their post, to share information with them,
Yeah.
and then once you have a little bit of a relationship or communication, now you're talking peer to peer. You're
I'll give
not
you
reaching up. Go ahead, Gretchen.
exactly. I'll give you a great example. There's a lady that I met last year, but just casually, she rescued a dog, and I didn't know that she'd already rescued other dogs. Erica Taylor Beck. She's a VP of client services for a company. We were not connected at all, but she posted this picture of this dog that she had rescued, and it just touched my heart. I mean, obviously, I'm a dog owner, so it touched my heart. And I started watching for her post, and then I rang her bell because I really wanted to see how this little guy was doing. They were going to foster him, so she didn't adopt him right away. So I was waiting to see like how he did and all that, because he really, he was very timid. And so as every time Erica posted about Ashton update, I was like all about it. And then I started looking at her other content, and I realized like she's really smart. She's also really on the ball when it comes to the kind of leadership that I wish everybody could have, right? And she's just very inspirational. I think she's wonderful. And so I connected with her. I was watching her content long before I asked to connect with her, you know, but she really like, I really felt like she's somebody that's meant to be like, that I'm meant to know. And we actually I've been following her and connected with her for many, many months, maybe almost a year, before we finally actually had a conversation. We had a coffee chat last week, and I was really glad because I got to be one of her 40 before she turns 40 in May. And it's just that kind of thing where you get to know people and you realize you have things in common that you may not realize, which means it's that human experience. It's that social connection that we all need. We all have things in common with each other, which means we're all meant to be in each other's orbit, which means we can all help each other. There's something that somebody's gone through that you may not be at the stage where you're going to go through it. So, wow, what great, we always say, I wish I had known then, I wish I had all the wisdom now that or when I was 20 that I have when I'm 50. Well, you can know that because there are people out there who have it and they want to share it with you. So when they're telling you a lesson they've learned, right, or something they know based on their experience, that is wisdom that you can put in your pocket. And when something happens, you're like, you know what? I remember Dawn said something about that. Oh, yeah. Boom. Or there's a technique that Gretchen uses to not like go ballistic in the moment. How does she do that? Right. Those kind of things. You can go back to that place, but you can get that wisdom now, so that I wish I had known. You can know the people out there, they're sharing that wisdom right now. She is amazing, Susanna. I know.
We'll move right to that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and amazing is a term that most people don't typically use, but on LinkedIn, it happens a lot more often because it shows you can jump from one level to another if you have somebody who'll give you a helping hand.
Yeah.
And, you just have to deserve what you expect from other people, and you'll get it. It's like going to a store. If you have the right amount of whatever currency, you can walk away with the purchase. And it's the same thing here. And the other thing is, no matter how big you get here, always be humble, always be modest. Remember what it was for you at the beginning, and how if someone would have judged you right at that moment, you would have probably failed in some people's eyes. But it's really most people, if they're, they want people to be more than superficial with them. Are they more than superficial with others, right? Or they summarily judge somebody based on numbers, based on whatever, versus that's where you're, like I say, I won't connect if I won't talk. Yeah. Because that's when you get to know somebody. And why not take the 20, 30 minutes, if nothing else, to say, hey, I'm alive, you're alive, we're humans, we're here at the same place, what's going on? And then after you hear their story, that's their story. It's not, believe what you hear and see, and it'll change a lot of times what you think and how you think, and then how you do. It's a process. A lot of people are just misorganized. They put the third step first, the second step. They got it all right, but they don't stage it. They don't position it, and they don't really believe it sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your belief is so strong and you've
Mm-hmm.
got that much confidence and you're willing to learn
Yep.
and change, all you got to do is let the process mold you. Like I say, this show is really a reflection of the people who view the show, and it's the way
Mm-hmm.
it should be. And then everything I post and my message is around everything, and we're learning every day. Because if you're gaining value, you should be applying value. As
Mm-hmm.
you get it, you send it forward, and you get something else, and you keep building. It's like building a wall, one brick at a time, and all of a sudden you got yourself a fortress,
Mm-hmm.
right? That only took one brick at a time. And it's possible, but you can't put time limits on you. You've never done this before.
Exactly.
So if someone says build a house, yeah, it'll probably take about a year and a half. I've seen that happen. But if it says get your full potential, I'm 3.5 years into this full time, and I qualify as a 5-year program. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like if you're going to get an advanced degree, you'd say, well, that's going to take me 3 more years. And in the first semester, I won't have to worry, did I get my diploma this week? You know what it is. And that's, I think, to Gretchen's point, when she went through that house disaster and tragedy, no one knows what that is, right? I mean, at least if someone says you want to buy a car, well, this is how you do it. That's like 1 in a million,
Yep.
right? And you're lucky just to have survived.
Yes,
You
we were home when it happened. Yeah.
So, everybody is going through life at the same time,
Yeah.
dealing with all outside influences in some way, shape, or form. What I found about LinkedIn, I know we got to wrap it up because we're at top of the hour, is that what we talked about yesterday is what was so compelling is when COVID showed up 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody knew what was going on. It was like a total mystery, right? I saw so many people switch on LinkedIn to everything's free for the next month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody was like, I've got a program. I used to charge this, but if anybody can need it, I'm going to do it for free.
Yep.
And it was just such an outpouring of goodwill. But see, by being peer to peer, and that's why I think this is so valuable, everything is going peer to peer because institutions are broken. Institutions can't serve everybody, but one person helping another person. There's so much wisdom and talent here. There's so much need here that if
Mm-hmm.
you connect them, now all of a sudden no one has to wait. And to Gretchen's point, she probably has 20 people she could lean on based on subject, based on situation. And if
Yeah.
not, she's got 20 people who probably have 20 people too, who will now bring it up to 400 if you need an expert in something or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
How valuable
Absolutely.
would that be? That's where your safety net
Yeah.
is knowing someone's going to catch you and is good at catching people. And not
Yep.
only that, enjoys doing it,
Yep.
right? Server and the servee do really well. So, anyways, this flew by. I think this was great because we had a great mix of a little bit of everything. And I like the idea of having some LinkedIn proficiency and insights because just to get people excited and then not know how to apply it
Right. Yeah.
doesn't serve them. And the next step is taking action. So it's getting a positive mindset, best practices in place, and an activity schedule. And to Gretchen's point, measure your time, appreciate your time,
Yeah.
and you'll be surprised. I didn't know I was spending that much time, you know, because I enjoyed it. So Gretchen, final words.
No, I always have fun when I come here. It's always nice to talk to everybody in the audience. And I think that's also really good advice. It's just, where you spend your time. That's an investment that you're making in other people and yourself. So spend it wisely.
Well, thank you for that wonderful insight and your wonderful ability to inspire and educate and entertain at the same time. So trifecta going. So thank you, everybody. Love that you're here. You mean so much to all of us because without you, there is no us. And have a great day. Rest up. Come back in 23 hours. Tomorrow, Andrea's will be here. She's just a great lady. and you've seen her before. And then Wednesday, we have a new lady who I want to share with you. Her name is Raquel Flores. I don't know if you know her. She has her own show, and she's done really well for herself. Very young lady who's just up to 30 some thousand connections, is doing some amazing things, and has a huge, wonderful story. And then Thursday is Kelly. And then Friday is Christy, and it just continues. So wonderful people, wonderful audience, wonderful Gretchen. With that, goodbye for now. Have a wonderful day.